So you're a small town star in the state of Washington. Again, you two state championships. Then you go to Oregon. You have a great career there. Then you're drafted by the Sonics. Did it kind of hit you at one point that this is not necessarily how it always works for guys? A lot of times you'll go far away to go to college, or you'll get drafted by a team on the other side of the country. You were fortunate because you're a small town guy and you're a Washington guy. You were fortunate, aren't you, that you were able to stay near home?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I think at the time you don't really realize how blessed you were, or I was, to be able to be in that situation. And once I, got traded to the Bucks and was away from being in Seattle and just around everybody, I started to realize how special it was when I was there. In the moment, it was so much pressure and just, you knew everybody. I think I put too much on it. It was too much self-pressure at the time. But once I got away from it and just saw how cool it was to actually get drafted by your hometown team, home state team, it was, it doesn't happen very much. So I think I realized it kind of later in my career, how good we had it, and never got to go back to Seattle to play. So we always missed just the chance to get to play in front of the fans there again, and just really a lot of people that I grew up with and knew. But I really realized it once I got out of here, or got out of Seattle and played on other teams, just how cool it was to be able to have that opportunity.
Luke, you played here and you were here right till the end. And then I think you get the team has left, but you got traded. You never played in Oklahoma City, right? You got traded that summer.
Yeah.
What was it like? You're a kid, you're growing up here. I'm assuming, even though you're in Blaine, which is a couple hours north, you're following the Sonics. I mean, those glory days with Peyton and Kemp, that you had right when you're in grade school, kind of a junior high.
Yeah.
And now you get drafted, you get to play for them, and then things completely out of your control, business things dictate ultimately that the team ends up leaving town. Did it pull at your heartstrings? I mean, you couldn't do anything about it, but take me through what you felt like during that time as a Washington native and a guy very connected to the Northwest.
Yeah, it hurt bad. Just, I could kind of feel it coming after they let Nate McMillian go. And you could just see things changing with the front office as soon as the team got sold. And the new guy came in. Was it Bennett? I think his name was.
Yeah, Clay Bennett.
Yeah, you could just feel that whole last year, it just wasn't the same feel that it was the previous 4 years. You could sense something was changing and moving. And I think for guys that were on the team before, that had success with the team before those guys came, it was pretty painful, just because you knew what we were trying to build, and all of a sudden their plan was pretty different than what was there before. And you knew the team wasn't going to be there. So it was kind of like we were on a ship that was sinking, and for me, I was just trying to get off of it and get somewhere I knew that would be better.
So you welcomed then when they did the deal. I mean, you would have gone to Oklahoma City. You're a professional and you're making your living playing basketball, and things can be out of your hand. But did you welcome hey, I never had to play at Oklahoma City, I got to go somewhere else? Was that a good thing for you?
Oh, 100%. As soon as I knew it was happening, I was trying to. I mean, you can only do so much, but I definitely let it known that I would like to get out of there and get a new spot. And like I said, it was a tough situation. It was probably the hardest year of my career, that 5th year in Seattle, just because of all the change that was happening, and just new management. Everything is different. So for me, getting out of there was a blessing, and seeing the Sonics leaving, I didn't want to go to Oklahoma City just because there was a lot of stuff going on. But it was tough to see the team go, for sure.
And you'd been through an interesting career arc. You'd come into the league, you'd established yourself. You played on that 04-05 team that we'll talk about in a little while. It was so good, and got to within, a Ray Allen shot of getting to a Game 7 against San Antonio in the second round. And then you guys dip a bit, but you're a smart basketball guy. You've been around the sport long enough to know you had to feel like, okay, here comes Kevin Durant. Here comes Jeff Green.
Yeah.
You guys weren't real good in that 07-08 season, but you certainly could see it was going to get better, couldn't you?
Oh, 100%. You knew it was. I think for guys that were there, like myself and all the other guys, they basically got rid of, except for Nick and I think.
Yeah.
So you could get a sense that they kind of wanted their own guys in there, and you can't blame them. That's the way the league goes. But you knew they were going to be good. You just didn't know how long it was going to take. And for someone like me that had been there, you could sense that they were going to move on anyway. So
We on this show about, I guess it's been about 3-4 weeks ago now, because it was before the Lakers series. We talked to Jeff Green, and I hadn't talked to Jeff for years and years. And what was it like to watch a guy you played with who's still playing? And he's not on some ceremonial victory lap. He's playing big minutes for the world champs. What was it like to watch that series unfold and know that you had, Jeff, and you played with him?
Oh, it's always fun. I've had a few of those guys, even coaches that are on like the Nugget staff, just to see. Aaron Gordon's another guy I played with as a rookie in Orlando. So just to see those guys. And Jeff's such a good dude, just to see, humble guys like that have kind of paid their dues, spent a lot of time just around different organizations, get a chance to play for a championship. You only can root for them. So it's just fun to see.
Did you see any of the footage on social media of Aaron walking through the streets of Denver after the game, like with the fans all around him? I think he was carrying either a beer or a champagne or something. He's drinking something, and he's just walking through the streets. I think he still had his uniform pants on. He's lost his jersey at some point, and people are just, did you see that? I mean, it was fantastic.
That's amazing. I don't have social media. I didn't see any of it, but I could see that happening. He's a good dude too.
Yeah, it was. I was happy to see Denver win, and not that would have been unhappy for Miami, but Denver. And it's interesting, isn't how, we'll see now if the game is going to change again. It seems like for a long time now we've focused on teams that can knock down the three, and that 04-05 Sonics team had a bunch of guys who could shoot from the perimeter. They almost looked like a team that was built for today.
Yeah,
and yet. Jokic makes you wonder if teams aren't going to, although it's, go find the next Nikola Jokic. I don't know how easy a job that would be. You got any kids in your gym that look like Nikola?
I like that guy. That's what reminds me, like when Tim Duncan era, there's just nobody else like him. It's kind of the same thing with him. He's a one of a kind.
And it'll be interesting to see how much impact he has on the game now from this point on, in terms of people either trying to find other big guys or just trying to play that way. But that I kind of stumbled into something there. That 04-05 team, they were a little bit like a today's NBA team, weren't they? I mean, you guys had a ton of guys who could shoot from the perimeter.
Yeah, it was kind of the first era of that happening. I mean, the Suns were doing it. We were doing it. There was a few teams just shooting a lot of threes and playing fast. But the game has even changed more since then. It's more 5 out, everyone can shoot. Centers are shooting threes. We didn't have a lot of that when I was playing. But as far as guys just letting it fly and can all shoot, I mean, obviously we had Ray and Rashard, and two of the best of all time. So it was fun to be able to play like that. And it's just fun to see the game evolve. And every year it seems like it gets better and better.
You brought up Ray and Rashard, and we had one of our researchers named Corey Jackson came up with a great question for you. Who would win? It's a speculative question, which I know all guys like. Who would win in a game of 2-on-2 if everyone's in their prime? KD and Jeff Green, or Rashard and Ray?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah?
I think that's tough. Both those guys, all four of those guys are great. So, but Ray and Rashard, those guys can put 50 on you pretty quick. I don't know. I'm going old school, taking the two old fellas.
Yeah, you're those guys you went with. Yeah, and Rashard is an interesting guy, and I don't know if it's because of the era he played in or whatever. He can. I don't want to say he's the forgotten Sonic, but boy, I mean, he was so good and he's again another guy, one of those big guys that came in and could really shoot. He must have been fun to play with for a distributor like you, because you knew you were going to get your assist numbers with him.
Yeah, he was awesome. Just I mean, one of the first that could post and just step out and shoot threes. And just the thing about him, he was just so well-rounded. He could pass, he could do it all. And he was a great teammate. Like, he's always encouraging, always there, had your back. That's a guy that probably one of my favorite guys I've ever played with. So just getting to play with him was a lot of fun.